Welcome, this is a recorded session of the Post-Quantum Cryptography Conference of the PKI Consortium. This conference would not have been possible without our sponsors, PQ Shield, SSL.com, Entrust, Keyfactor, HID Global, and the organizational support of the Post-Quantum Cryptography Working Group of the PKI Consortium, and in particular, Entrust, Keyfactor, and Logius. Would you like to join the PKI Consortium? Go to pkic.org/join, or contact us if you would like to become a sponsor.
We have one more speaker before the lunch break. It's my distinct pleasure to introduce Alexander Lowe he's the CEO of Data Warehouse. He also holds the position of Vice President of the German Cybersecurity Council Association. I had the pleasure last night of sitting next to to Alexander Lowe for dinner, and I can assure you that he's got lots of interesting things to say. All right, and so it's really with that backdrop that he's going to share practical insights from following NIST SP 1800-38B. So without further ado, Alexander Lowe, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Hoping now the presentation will work, and if not, I can also talk around everything. So, yeah, just also to mention, it's a great pleasure working in the NCCoE with Bill Newhouse and his team. They're doing really a great job. We're providing also a small solution about the cryptographic discovery. And today, I just want to show a little bit what is our understanding about following the recommendation and the ideas of the NIST 1800-38B. As you hear about my dialect, I am from Germany, Bavaria, so please feel free to comment also about this. So yeah, so thank you very much. And working, yeah, so we have the delay. From my background, I'm a little bit longer in the IT business. I started about 1980 and discovering computer networks. And from all this background, from the very long time, we had huge migration projects. For example, I was responsible for migrating Deutsche Post from IBM world into the modern world, into switching everything from the network topology to the servers to the infrastructure. So it was there are some bigger projects, and when I was hearing about the possibility to participate on a migration project for quantum cryptography, it was quite interesting because in 2001 we started also in a defense area supporting some very secure systems, and they had also several topics with encryption, with managing the keys and certificates and all the stuff, and we helped to build up some PKIs and all the other stuff. So with this background, we had in 2014 a cybersecurity incident, which was defended successfully, but the problem was we had just some challenges about identifying some of our internal assets. Yeah, now we're on it. Yeah, so, and you know already this slide is from the NIST document and the action blocks, and how we understand about this. The action block 1 is understanding the enterprise. It's super important for everyone to understand in which area you're working, your environment you're working, which are the compliance topics. With this knowledge, you can, of course, start collecting the data. When you have data available, you're able to manage. So it's a very smooth forward process. And what we see in practice, sometimes it's a little bit challenging. And what we also have takeaways from learning from the working group, we had to learn that we have to standardize and to abstract our own work, which is very important. We don't have, we have to put off the vendor lenses or the personal lenses and just thinking about what could be a solution for the community. And working in this work streams makes it very, very interesting also to reassess your own work and your solutions. And reassess your solutions. And so this, but it's really worth it because you learn from many bright minds. You see many experts, and you get really deep insights. And also, if you want to test it in specific environments, it's also a very good opportunity to verify all your work, and also take a little time for it. So plan resources if you want to participate, because you can help really to improve all the processes. As everybody said on the stages, we need to work together on this topic and improve. So, okay. Now, can we please move 3 slides ahead? Yeah. So, and next one, please. So, I think it's better to doing in this better. Yeah, and how are the steps from our perspective done in reality? So starting all the time is visibility. Visibility is the discovery. I'm talking about it, and yeah, okay, let's take this one. It will help, so we can move forward. With visibility and with knowing the stuff, you can start up also building CPs or CPS, so certificate practicing stuff, or even crypto practicing stuff. And this means it defines your strategy. With the strategy, of course, you have to verify if everything you're doing is in the legal way about compliance stuff. What we also was a little bit missing all the days was talking about if we have to re-encrypt some stuff with a post-quantum migration. How is about, from the legal perspective, an original or a copy? How is this treated? There are some legal aspects we had in Germany. The German Notary Chamber, for example, they had this discussion all the time. When you have to create a company, buy any houses or lots or something, you have to file it at a notary in Germany. So this is a state-level legal action, and this is an original document which is held by a notary, which is a lawyer. And if one of the lawyers or the notaries is dying, so that the data needs to be handed over to the next notary. So you have the non-reputability, sorry for this, but this is really hard for me to pronounce it in English. But you have to take care that the original remains the original, and the location where you re-encrypt the data is a trusted and an accepted place for everyone who is involved in this process. This is something I want to take care about the legality. Then we're talking about all the other stuff, interoperability. Then you can, if you have everything checked, you have already the visibility, then you can exchange information. You're getting more flexible, then you're getting you can also exchange the systems, and at the end you can really automate everything because you have it in place. Next slide, please. And to make it a little bit more about a picture. So this is something I was facing when I started with our cyber attack we had, because enterprise is responsible for everything which is running in our environment, regardless if it's in the cloud or locally. So we had to take care about all our vendors which are in our system, which are many security vendors and also some software vendors, operating systems. We had internal topics, for example, we had internal development, so we had code signing, all the other stuff. And we also changing some stuff all the time. So we have a permanent supply chain with software, with hardware, with anything. And from my perspective as the CEO of the company, it is just what is happening inside our environment. And also then we have now the compliance stuff, which is also coming more and more. And in Europe, we have a NIST 2 regulation in which the CEO becomes responsible for everything which is happening in the company. You have to take care about supply chains. Supply chain is getting a real topic if you're talking about software products. And this is what also the SBOM process is all about. And next slide, please. I have a little bit different interpretation about this from showing it. Yeah, so when we're talking about cert discovery and inventory, can you, so this is animated and it's just not working. So, but let's take this one. It's absolutely okay. Typically, you look from the port stream, from the network communications about the systems, and this is so typically the standard capability everybody's talking about. But on the other hand, you have inside the system, this was also what Alessandro was telling about from TNO, you have also file systems, you have Active Directories, you have TPMs, you have any hardware inside your IT-driven systems, which contains certificates, keys, code signing certificates, key stores, all the stuff. And just to find all of them is very essential, because in our problem, it was a trust relation to Asian government managed CA. And we detected this, and everything was starting around this point. And when we started with discovery, we want to discover everything, every asset, regardless if it's a key, SSH, PGP, or any other key, private, public, if it's in the key store, if it's something like this. And then you have to just to find really everything. And regardless which process, which software you're using for this, next slide, please, you have to start a continuous monitoring. So this is, if I'm talking about cryptographic lifecycle, I'm talking about starting from discovery, from start knowing what you're having in your environment. Then you can start remediation and manage the systems and monitor and enforce. It's the same picture as we have seen from NCCoE. So the way is very similar from just a different setting. By the way, this picture is about 8 years old. So it has already a little bit history. But from the other side, from the discovery, why is discovery not so easy? You don't have one tool in which you can discover everything. Because you have, we're talking, it was just a discussion before, agent or agentless. Both have their advantages and disadvantages. If you have an agent, you can go very down and very deep into the system of the local machine. And you can also identify stuff from the hardware. If you do it from remote without an agent, maybe you miss some informations. And the question you have to ask, can you afford to miss some of these informations inside your environment? And also, when we're talking about discovery, we're talking about hard disk. This is a local discovery. We have also port discovery. So just looking on the ports in the network segments about communication, SSH, FTPS, LDAP, also sometimes forgotten. So LDAP, Active Directories are also containing a bunch of certificates inside the systems. And so I want to give you with the next slide just a little example of a cryptographic inventory, and I give you some numbers. If you do a simple scan of a MacBook, so I have a MacBook with me, and you do some scans and you make a little bit deeper discovery, you're finding about 230,000 certificates or 250,000, so it depends a little bit on the machine we're scanning, we're investigating. So 250,000 certificates, keys, cryptographic assets on one machine. In Windows, you can nearly double it sometimes. So our high score was 460 or something like this. So having these numbers, you have, of course, 99.9% is something you don't have to care about it because it's a vendor issue. But on the other hand, just remind on my former picture, the responsibility remains at you. So if this is something from compliance perspective, you are responsible for all this 369,000 for Windows or 250,000 from Apple in the first hand. So if someone comes to you from the federals, they want to talk to you. And what's for you very interesting, or for everybody very interesting, we're talking about dashboards. Next slide, please. Then using this stuff just to find, for example, this was just an example about purpose of certificates. This is about certificate. This was not about keys, the example. But if you have a vendor or a CA which is asking you for a little bit more, like digital signature, non-reputation and repudiation, and all the other stuff, I think it is a little bit more critical than you have a cert which is just about digital signatures or key signing or something like this. So then you can start also categorizing the information. And then you have already a criticality level. And then you can do very easily some assessments. And a typical assessment from a system in the beginning looks like this one. So don't be afraid if you're doing it. This is also a message to all the end user customers. Everybody wants to do it. In the beginning, it looks all the time right. This is absolutely usual. This is nothing special. And nobody expects that everything is compliant. But now you have a measurement baseline in which you can start to improve. And this is the most important thing, because this was missing in the last 35 years of cryptography in every way. The companies were relying to vendors, the vendors were relying to the suppliers were relying to all the others. And at the end, there is a lack of experts in the complete field. If I look at university level, how many universities are explaining about cryptography, about code signing, about proper code signing, about understanding the concepts of cryptography? I think it's a real problem, also education and training, which is done, for example, with this consortium, which do a really, really good job about it. Next slide, please. Just skip two. Go two ahead. Yeah. This one. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So this is one of the suggestions when having a standard enterprise architecture or governance architecture. You typically have your SIEM systems. You have your CMDBs. You have your ITIL processes, you have your red teams, blue teams in the SOC. You have also your software development, which leads into SBOMs. And additionally, you have now CertDB. This is the Cryptographic Inventory, which you can actively use to improve the enterprise's information infrastructure. And what's needed is, next slide, please, is just to ensure that the systems can exchange the informations. And this exchange, I think, is super important. CBOM is one possible way, depending on the file type or something. It's could be different to follow the standard if you're using older tools in some of the enterprises. It could be a little bit challenging. So next slide. And I'm coming already to the conclusions. I think it's super important starting with the inventory as soon as possible. Everybody said, I think there are some technologies available to do it. You can ask NCCoE, the NIST guys, or TNO maybe. And then you have all the possibilities to manage it. So this is something where my company names comes from, data warehouse. Of course, then if you have the data available, you have the knowledge, then you can exchange the information, you can work with it, you can do active stuff with it. And at the end, you can also do additional services, investigate, for example, cryptographic security. So looking in any other vulnerability databases or lost keys, OCSPs or something, or certificate transparency. And just one more slide for the final thing, which is also sometimes forgotten in the discussions. When we're talking to bigger customers, we always find a computer museum. A computer museum is, you have all generations of IT available. So it's also very important that all discovery should be also include this museum or the computers inside the information store, regardless if you want to sandbox it or not. It's very important to also manage and work with this information. And with this, you have the possibility to be active and to define your level of management and independency of operations. And this gives you then the optimal chance to automate everything, to be crypto agile, because you can then move between different vendors or companies or even philosophies, because also moving the philosophy is a challenge. And with this, I think I can close and open for the sessions. And thank you so much for your attendance. And of course, you can reach out, and looking forward for the discussion. Thank you very much.
Any questions in the audience? Any online questions?
I think it's lunchtime.
Well, it is.
We do have an online question.
There is one online question. Please ask it.
Yeah, I apologize, but the thing that we're using to track questions is shared between the breakout session and the plenary session, and the breakout session and our session fight over who's using it.
Well, just ask the most interesting question. See if we can answer it.
Okay, when you talk about agent versus agentless, I continuously hear from multinationals about another agent. As Jamie had commented earlier, is it possible to piggyback an existing agent that may be being used, or are the vast number of them impossible to support?
Yeah, of course it is possible, but it depends on the agents, the APIs from the agents, if they are open to share their informations. When we're thinking about agents, our agents we are thinking about it, they are open for just sharing the information directly after a discovery. After the scan, the information can be shared with any third party. And this, I think this should be a little bit more about the philosophy of the agent's questions and not about agent yes or not. I think it's more about how to optimize the use of the agent. And if some agents not providing the necessary informations, you have to think how to manage this. And of course, if it's possible to have an agent which shares the information, then the software typically is also able to interface with it. I think all the vendors are able to interface with any third party.
In-house, please.
So when we are talking about the keys, mostly our mindset will go to the certificates. But we know actually there are more than 30-40% keys are buried actually in the database in the form of columns, right? In the COTS applications, some people will implement actually keep it in the database and all, which is not visible to any scan tools. Do you have any thoughts actually like how to scan them?
Yeah, of course. So I don't want to go too deep into the tooling, but our understanding is, of course, the keys are a part of the cryptographic assets. So we are taking care about the keys if you're talking to data warehouse. But there are many other vendors which have a different philosophy and different understanding. As I said, also we want to collect all the information in the beginning and then reduce the result set to the needs of the enterprise. So first, we want to collect everything we're finding, which is a cryptographic asset. And of course, as I said, PGP, SSH, private, public keys, key stores, everything needs to be investigated. Also, if key stores are kept secure, so if the passwords are not easy guessable or something like this, aspects like this are our understanding of a discovery. So this is our also lessons learned from the working with the working group, and we have learned it through a very hard kill chain pain, in which we also had to take care that every information is kept secure. And this was, of course, it was 30% of the keys have to be reassessed and to be seen as compromised or secure. So we have to reassess it. In our position, we were very lucky. We had no incident at the end, but in the first case, you don't know it. And if you start the forensics and the investigations, you have to assess it first. This is about our learning about. So yes, keys are a vital part of the information set.
Thank you.
Next internal question, please.
Sorry, more of a clear commentary. As a vendor with CryptoCyber, you should be able to use anybody else's. Any enterprise usually has enough tools already in place that you should be able to use that for an inventory. And then again, that's just kind of table stakes at this point. Thank you.
Yeah. So as I said, there are many tools already available. But for example, just as an idea, maybe you do just an assessment and verify if your imaginations or your impression of being complete in your scanning is complete. So this is just a verification. Typically, just so from my expertise, everybody says they have it fully under control. And usually we find about 50–60% missing information. So this is something. This is the reason why so many red bars are also on the screen. But it's nothing I'm taking care of, and honestly, because it's the customers or the user situation. And from a CEO perspective, I just can't talk about my environment. But others is the responsibility of others, and it's their decision how to manage this.
Right, you still have to do the supply chain. You have to do all those other pieces.
Full supply chain.
And
Yeah, right.
yeah, but again, the basis of you don't need another agent is the real more important piece of that original comment. Yeah. But you're addressing that particular is we look at it. There's 5 pillars, right? There's internal, there's external. You got to start with an external scan to know what you're broadcasting to the world. Then, assets, databases, and code. Code is a more, difficult piece. When you talk about firmware code, that's not necessarily agentless, but you have to be able to work with your developers to do that.
Yeah. So for example, TPM. TPM is a typical example which is very hard to assess without an agent.
Yeah.
Just for an idea, if you want to make your TPM assessment in TPMs, we typically find many unmanaged cryptographic items.
Right, and then you find out, like the Marriott, that things are not even encrypted at all. So,
this sometimes happens, of course, yeah.
But you still have to bring that in because if you're going to end up having a cryptographic bill of materials, whether it's a Santander version or Cyclone DX or any of the others, you're still going to be able to have to manage that in some sort of repository because, again, then you have to do the orchestration of that data, be able to put tickets into a SOC, be able to do all those other things. Because who's going to do the work?
Yeah, and at the moment I was just talking about a PC. If I'm talking to an IoT device, then we have really fun about
and OT.
Even with the scanning, and we're managing, for example, a small farm with about 4,000 sensors or something like this. You cannot believe what you're finding. So this is something I don't want to bring on the table today.
What are those 10 boxes in Jamaica doing?
Alexander, we have one online question.
All the stage, at what stage do you perform quantum risk assessment? How do we leverage the existing assets, the CMDB, and the data assets information as an enterprise and connect with crypto assets?
So from our understanding, it depends on the customer, because if I'm talking, I'm a CEO of a 50 people company. So we're very small, we have a nice infrastructure, but we're very small. I was responsible, as I said, for Deutsche Post. They have 240,000 employees. This is a completely different topic when I'm talking, when do I perform the PQM or any migration steps or quantum readiness investigation. But first, we're doing everywhere, we're suggesting everywhere, collect all your informations together to have them in the right place, and then reduce your result set to your needs of operations, regardless if it's just digital hygiene, if it's just code signing, if it's just quantum readiness. So quantum readiness for us is just a nice coincidence which happens in the past, but it was not our motivation also in the beginning, but we saw the dependencies of informations with the certificate infrastructure, like we're seeing vendors installing, for example, Chinese root certificates in the registry. This is something which is maybe in defense companies not the best way to store them. And so these are just some findings we have. So I can talk all day about findings we have. But this is one of the examples. And we don't know the status of an enterprise. For example, if we see Jaime with Santander, which is doing a very straight process, very strict, collecting the data in a very early stage. They have their own experts, they have their own expertise, and they know best how to do it. There are many bright heads in every company. We just need to give them the informations to build the right decisions. This is my understanding.
Alexander, thank you.
Thank you so much.
I think, not only was it interesting, but I think we all recognize your passion for this subject. So it's very, very much appreciated. Thank you again. Thank you again.